I gotta keep it real with you. The WNBA is staring down its own demise now that Caitlin Clark is officially out for the season. Let's not sugarcoat this. From the Indiana Fever front office, Stephanie White, Amber Cox, all the way up to Kathy Englebert and even Adam Silver himself. Everyone who's had their fingerprints on this situation needs to take a hard look in the mirror. Because the league just lost the one athlete who was single-handedly carrying it into the mainstream. Caitlin Clark isn't just a star, she's a phenomenon. Her drawing power is something we haven't seen in decades, and the only fair comparison is Tiger Woods. And let me be clear, when Tiger hit the scene, golf was already more mainstream than the WNBA has ever been. That tells you just how massive Caitlin's impact is. We're talking about the kind of power that puts her in the same conversation with names like Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, Tiger Woods, Muhammad Ali. Now, has she reached their level of championships and accolades yet? No, of course not. But in terms of pure star power, ratings, and the ability to draw casual fans, she's right there. And don't just take my word for it. Jason Whitlock flat out said he's done. He's out. Colin Cowherd literally admitted this week that the only reason he ever led his show with WNBA talk was Caitlin Clark. 6 times last year, she opened the biggest sports radio show in the country. That's unheard of for women's basketball. You don't open a show with someone unless they move the needle. Do you know what else moves the needle like that? The Lakers, the Cowboys, the Yankees, the Dodgers. That's it. That's the entire list. And Caitlin Clark was right there with them. Now here's where it gets scary for the league. A poll went up on Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it, by a fan account with just a few thousand followers. The question, will you keep watching the Fever without Caitlin Clark? And the results? Absolutely brutal. 50% said yes, 50% said no. Let me translate that. Nearly half of the people who were tuning in for Caitlin Clark are tuning out now that she's gone. That should send shivers down the spine of everyone in the WNBA offices. And honestly, who can blame fans? The way this whole injury process has been handled feels shady at best. Every press conference, you could see it on Coach Stephanie White's face. She knew. She's been carrying the weight of this news for weeks. Fans aren't stupid. We all saw it coming, but instead of being upfront, the Fever and the league dragged it out, and now here we are. Here's the bottom line. Caitlin Clark made the WNBA appointment television. She made it must-see. And without her, nearly half the audience is gone. That's not just bad news. That's potentially catastrophic for a league that was finally getting real mainstream traction. Colin Cowherd says Caitlin Clark is the league, and talks about making appointments just to make sure he does not miss the Indiana Fever game.
There's a unit or a portion of the media that is very pro-WNBA to a fault. And then there's those of us that are realistic. How many times have you watched WNBA games since Caitlin Clark got hurt? Now think about this. It led our show last summer.
A bunch.
Oh, I think I led with it 6 times. I led with the WNBA. And either way, I talk about what I think is interesting. You notice I didn't talk about it this year? Yeah. It's not because I suddenly disliked the league. I thought it was growing. Anybody that wants to argue this, you're off your rocker. Caitlin Clark is the league. I don't know what the ratings are. I haven't read them, but I know last year with Caitlin Clark, I would, if the game was on, I would drive home making a point. And when's that game on?
I would watch it on my phone in the car. So
yes.
You could listen, not watch, I'm driving, but you could listen to it in the car. And that's just not happening. Now I'm tracking the Sparks a little bit out here. LA Sparks are kind of trying to make
Angel Reese's a good player. But this idea, and I think she is valuable as a counterpunch, as a bit of a college and pro rival to Caitlin Clark. But for all the people that are, the growth of the league, Caitlin Clark this is Tiger on the tour. There was a lot of other good golfers. Tiger was getting people to a TV singularly.
So let's remember,
outside of the Masters or U.S. Open.
I've used this word a lot lately, singular. And that's exactly what Caitlin Clark has been for the WNBA. People weren't tuning in because they suddenly fell in love with the league as a whole. No, they were tuning in for one reason, and one reason only, Caitlin Clark. She was the singular draw, the magnet pulling eyeballs into a league that, frankly, most people had ignored for decades. And let me tell you, I've been locked into these Indiana Fever games from the start. Not because I'm some diehard Fever fan, not because I love the X's and O's of their offensive scheme, but because Caitlin Clark was on the floor. And trust me, these games, they've been brutal to sit through. Stephanie White's coaching style, and her entire offensive philosophy make me want to peel my eyeballs out with a spoon. It's that boring, that uninspired. But you know what? I stayed. I kept watching. I gave them my time, my attention, my energy. Why? Because like a fool, I held on to this tiny sliver of hope that maybe, just maybe, Caitlin Clark was going to come back this season. That's the hook they used. That's the carrot they dangled in front of every single fan who was hanging in there just like me. And you can bet that's exactly why they did it. Whitlock's been saying it too. They strung people along. The Indiana Fever, the WNBA, the powers that be, they knew how much of the league's lifeblood flowed through one player. So instead of ripping the Band-Aid off and being honest, they played games with the truth. They kept dangling the idea that Caitlin Clark was day-to-day, that maybe she'd return, that there was still hope. And fans like me bought in. But here's the cold reality. Without Caitlin Clark, the Fever are unwatchable. The league is unwatchable. The offense is stale, the product is dull, and the only reason anyone was showing up in the first place is gone. That's not a shot at the other players. It's just the truth. And when a league is completely dependent on a singular superstar to prop it up, that tells you everything you need to know about the state of the WNBA right now.
WNBA, you're dead. The WNBA pretty much blew its opportunity this year, and tonight, when Caitlin Clark announced that she was not returning this season, I'm just sitting here shaking my head like they blew their opportunity. They had one shot. You talk about a fumble. This will go down as one of the greatest fumbles in sports history. They had a chance to elevate themselves. Instead, they've disappointed this entire new fan base. Caitlin Clark's entire sophomore season in the WNBA seemed shady as hell. Did they know all year or since July that she was not coming back, and they wait until now and they announce it like an hour before the NFL season kicks off? Oh yeah, Caitlin Clark's not coming back this season. Let's hopefully get it buried by the Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. This whole thing feels like a work. We've now been introduced to all these other WNBA players who I can't stand. They're unlikable. And likely next season, there's going to be a woke stoppage. They're calling it a work stoppage, but it's a woke stoppage because they're going to overplay their hand and ask for too much money. I don't think I'm ever returning to the WNBA. Certainly not the way that I was before this season and with Caitlin Clark. I've been disappointed. This season's been a disappointment. No guarantee that next season won't be a disappointment or a work stoppage. And now that I've met the WNBA players, I don't like them. They're unlikable. Angel Reese, unlikable. Asia Wilson, unlikable. Paige Beckers, don't like her. None of them. Alyssa Thomas, don't like them. It's a big, giant group of unlikable people. I don't care if they have any success. I like a handful of the Indiana Fever players. That's it. But I've lost interest in that. I'm done. I'm out. No reason to watch the rest of this season. No real reason to return next season.
Brutal. Brutal. That's the only word for this right now. And you know what? Whitlock's no nonsense, but he's not wrong. Not even close. I said this the other day. The problem with the WNBA has always come down to two words: likable and unlikable. For 26 years, this league has been losing money because it's been dominated by unlikable personalities. Look, in politics, you want to succeed? You better be likable by at least half the population. Probably more if you're local. Same deal here. Sports are built on connection, on relatability, on personalities fans can root for. And the WNBA just hasn't had it. Until Caitlin Clark. She was different. She cut through all the noise. She was the singular draw. And now, unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable what's happened, what's transpired. You've got polls showing nearly half the people who were tuning in. Let's be real, half of Caitlin Clark's fans saying, "That's it. We're done. We're out. No Clark, no interest." Whitlock called it. Colin Cowherd said it flat out too. He wasn't tuning in once Caitlin was gone. And this isn't some guy off the street. This is one of the biggest voices in sports media. That tells you everything. This is the definition of F around and find out. The WNBA thought it could ride the wave without Caitlin Clark actually being on the floor. Well, guess what? F around and find out. No Caitlin Clark, no eyeballs. It really is that simple. Tell me what you think in the comments. Appreciate you watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, share it with your friends. Till next time, peace, I'm out.